Good afternoon, everyone. These are the incredible weather events and atmospheric phenomena occurring in the spring of 2019. 100 million people under some kind of winter warning threat alert in the U.S., along with high wind advisories. Our atmosphere has just turned a corner with the intensification of the grand solar minimum. Incredible windstorm, Mount Washington, winds at 275 kilometers per hour. First ever recorded Category 5 typhoon in the Pacific in February. Winds so intense, sucking fish out of the water. Malta, Sicily, intense windstorms in Norway. 120 mile per hour winds across Iceland. Never before seen cloud formations in Romania. 120 mile per hour Bora winds across the Dalmatian coast in Croatia. We'll take a look at the walls across Dubrovnik. Decreases in global temperature as decreases in solar activity match. And as we look forward out into 2030, we haven't seen this type of solar decline in 400 years. This is why we're seeing the mix-ups in our jet streams and our atmosphere. Disheartening blast of snow and bitter cold returns across the U.S. All that purple and blue, 30 degrees Fahrenheit below normal temperatures. All those trains that were stuck, finally the people are rescued. Remember the record snows in Arizona? Now Phoenix finally reached its first 80-degree days, a month late. Chicago really doesn't break below 0 degree Fahrenheit temperatures, but it may this week. Atlanta, do I see 11 degrees Fahrenheit there in that wind chill? But according to the IPCC, it's just weather. So how do you think our plants are responding to just weather when it was spring for several weeks and now it's back into winter? Take a look at the cosmic rays from 2015 to 2019, increases for sure. This reflects more declines in solar activity as we see every reduced output solar cycle, decreases in Earth's temperatures. Stephen Goddard, this media may contain sensitive material. I am so scared I may be triggered. It's a temperature graph from 1980 to 2019. What's that? 0.6 above the baseline average there. Now let's take a look at NASA. What? And even if we take the starting point back in 1979 with the satellite era at, let's round it off, 0.3, still doesn't make sense because University of Alabama Huntsville put it at 0.36. So even if we bring it back, the entire gain's only 0.6. How is NASA double that? Too inconvenient. That's why it was deemed sensitive material, in my opinion. Also, U.S. Marines in California. I wonder if Russia is a code word for the grand solar minimum or glaciation. Article 13, you heard about this a few months ago in Europe. The final vote taking place as I'm making the video right now. But what does that mean for you or us on the planet having a free internet? If the current version of Article 13 goes through, videos may be blocked from being seen in the EU. And also reposting of links coming out of Europe, very restricted in the new bill. So talking about olive oil shortages in Italy. Guardian talking about 57% drop in olive oil harvest. You wouldn't even be able to share this photo in Greece of bare shelves. And does it stop at government drafts being released because part of it was written by European scholars and scientists, published in Europe but cited in the full climate report? I wanted to share this report because extreme hot days dominated in the 1930s, and NASA coming out saying it's the 4th warmest global surface temperature. These are links that you're not going to be able to share through Europe. I couldn't even share with thick ice gone. Arctic sea ice changes more slowly, meaning gaining sea ice. And sharing video links about preparing for a grand solar minimum, greenhouse plans, so you can better prepare yourself for these coming changes. Will that be free to share through social media, or will that be restricted as well? This was Spencer Dam. This is what it looks like after the floods in Nebraska. Images captured while the water was rushing over, destroying the dam. So much of the central U.S. crop growing areas completely underwater, massive flooding. This was all brought about by the bombogenesis a few days back. And this is what our farmlands look like now. Massive flooding, historic flooding again. Ice flows over rivers across the Midwest, and our infrastructure did not fare well during this storm. All the road closures, interstate closures, bridges washed away. Rescuing cows using backhoes, there's no other alternative. National Weather Service abandons their office due to massive floods. Wastewater treatment plants can't cope. Before and after, above and below of the waters. Again and again, it's just massive fill up as the snowpack and the floods from the bombogenesis combined. What do you think is going to happen to the planting season? This is definitely a grand solar minimum associated storm. Record snow yet again. The ski season was opening early in Colorado. We'll see how late it stays open this year because Colorado snowpack so juiced they had to redo the scale. We saw the same thing with Northern Hemisphere snowfall this and last year. Taking a look, polar portal, surface melt on Greenland. Glaciers are recovering. New NASA study shows it right on time for the grand solar minimum. Do you think they're connected? Greenland stops melting, glaciers grow, we're entering the grand solar minimum. It's intensifying, yet the corporate media still doesn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. You are on your own, absolutely. An enormous amount of storage bins containing the U.S. harvest from last year look exactly like this. A lot of people were saying, hey, why don't we get in, take the top off, we can salvage the grain. Even in places like this, floodwaters, we can tear the top off and salvage all the grain. Not this time. The laws are saying that because it's river water flooding, the entire bin needs to be destroyed. And in the old law, even if you were able to take that out, it would be an individual case-on-case basis whether that grain would be saleable or not. So you'd have to wait for the FDA to come in and inspect just a few bins. Significant river flooding still expected along the Mississippi, but the further down the Mississippi you go, the larger the grain storage facilities are. Train tracks submerge, delays in movement of the grain across the U.S. Before and after, flooding from space. That word historic is back. Millions brace for blizzard, 6 states in the U.S. Taking a look at the severe swings in temperature across the U.S. Oh wait, that was blocked on Twitter. Offensive content, sensitive material. It's just weather. We're tracking this anomaly across the U.S. Extreme temperature drops. That purple is where the most intense drops are. Obviously the weather's going to be the most intense, bordering these warm and cold fronts. Europe looking mixed up as well. India getting in on the electrical action. Southern Hemisphere, Rio, the extent of the floods still being counted. And wait, just 2 days ago, blizzard in the Ural Mountains of Russia seems to be right on track with the intensification of the grand solar minimum. So I asked the question, why is the mainstream media still silent on talking about this intensification and putting 2 and 2 together? Third year in a row, here we go. Late frosts, fires out across the vineyards in France. Abruzzo, Italy, adding a couple more feet. Down to Brazil, heavy hail. A few reports from Chicago coming in a few hours back. A look at the sunspots, an image I took myself on the ride in Hanoi, and I want to leave you with some fields of indigo up around Sapa. Update here on the African swine fever reporting across Asia. Map for you to glimpse at. Chinese pork production down 35%. That's as much as the entire annual U.S. pork production itself. Weekly USA pork exports up 3 times to the highest it's ever been before. And also this image off Feeder Flash. Do you think our crops are going to be delayed planting this season? We've seen the fire in Notre Dame Cathedral. Let's talk about the medieval warming period when that construction was started. 12th century. Then again, the height of mathematics, agriculture, society at that time collapsed into the French Revolution. What happened? Well, they couldn't grow food. Take a look at some of the European temperatures as well as food pricing in the 1700s and maybe what you can expect moving forward as we get into the grand solar minimum. And we're starting to see crop losses in the exact same places that we saw that started the French Revolution. Massive Antarctic front sweeps over Western Australia. First time for snow in 49 years this early in the season. Record cold, not just record cold, the coldest temperatures ever recorded for this date in the year. Look here on the map in the warmest year ever, how cold it is. These are the same areas that I pegged for crop losses. Western Australia entering into the grand solar minimum. Australian wheat output falls to 11-year lows. A really good video how the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia masking the cold. You need to ask yourself why. And please remember to visit one of the sponsors for this video, My Patriot Supply. Long-term food storage and different things you're going to need to get ready for storing food for a longer duration of time during the grand solar minimum. The link's below in the description box, and remember, every single purchase helps keep ADAPT 2030 on air, bringing you information just like this.